Welcome back, guys, to You Not Crazy Conversations of Hope. We are on Ep.4 today, and we're talking about mental health and parenting. And more specific, we're talking about how pregnancy impacts mental health and relationships. Listen, mental health challenges and relationship changes come with pregnancy. So I'm so excited because I do have a guest today. It's Rebecca Brown.
Hey.
She is a devoted mother of two boys. They're so beautiful, guys. Ages 14 and 20 months. Listen, after spending 13 years as a classroom teacher, she has made the bold decision to step away from education to focus on her family and launch a new journey as a financial coach. Now she's dedicated to helping women of faith manage their resources wisely, honoring God, and making a lasting impact on the kingdom. I love it, guys. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So listen, guys, pregnancy is often described as a joyful time, but it also brings significant mental and emotional changes. So I want to share some facts around what research has said about anxiety, depression, mood swings, and even hormonal changes that can occur, and physical discomfort, and even just the pressure of preparing for a new life, and that can impact a mother's well-being. Guys, listen, it's important to address these things so that individuals feel seen and heard during this beautiful process. All right, so it's just as important as our physical health. Our mental health is important, right? And so we want to ensure that the mother and the baby thrive. So let's talk about just a little bit before I get to my guests. And listen, there are some emotional and psychological changes that happen during pregnancy. So research talk about first hormonal shifts, all right? And so these are increased levels when our estrogen and progesterone can lead to mood swings, anxiety, and even heightened emotions. Research has shown that during this time, anxiety increases. Many mothers experience worry about the baby's health, labor, and their ability to be a good parent, and even body image concerns, guys. Physical changes can impact self-esteem, which can lead to feelings of insecurity or even discomfort. So can you share how your experience with pregnancy affected your mental health?
Absolutely. I have two boys, and my pregnancies couldn't have been more different.
Okay.
My first son, I was 21, so there was a lot of shame and guilt around there.
Okay.
I was still living at home. I wasn't even with the son's father at the time. And so I felt like very hopeless, like my life was over. And I was suffering from a broken heart.
Wow.
And, but 14 years later, you know, I'm in a more healthy, stable relationship. I'm married, but I have a much harder physically pregnancy because I'm older. Now I have that stamp of you're at high risk. And so there is that anxiety piece, right? Like you're holding your breath every appointment. You're having to do extra testing, and that's rough. And I was extremely nauseous my whole first trimester, and my energy was really low. So my joy was just kind of like fizzled. I couldn't do the things I loved. And it also led to resentment for my husband a little bit, to be honest, because he could still live his life, right? Like he could still drink, he could still go out, and I literally can't leave the couch, you know? So that was hard. And pregnancy brain's a real thing. I had it with both. My second time, I kid you not, I was at a Target and I was wandering the parking lot for 15 minutes, called my husband. I said, someone stole my car.
Oh, no.
And he was very gracious, and he's like, okay, I'll come help you. He found it in 2 seconds. But it's like you just feel crazy, and it's normal, but it's hard because you don't feel like yourself, right? And then I think the guilt by this stage in life, by 35, I have friends who are trying to get pregnant, friends who went through miscarriages. And so when you're feeling discomfort, it makes you feel guilty because it's like, well, I should be happy. It's a joyful time. But those hormones are very real.
I thank you for sharing that, guys, because I love that you said these are typical. We want to normalize that there will be emotional shifts that happen. So how do you think expectant parents can prepare for these emotional shifts?
I think that you need to do research and understand what's happening with your body. Reading a lot helped me to know that that's normal. As far as the woman specifically, I would say get in your word, start praying and worshiping and having that special time, because I was able to go to God and say, I'm feeling isolated, but what's the truth? The truth is that you are with me. The truth is that I'm not going through this on my own, and that your strength is made perfect in my weakness. So that was really important for me the second time around, for sure. And for husbands or boyfriends, be ready to sacrifice. I'm going to say what would have helped, I think, a little bit for me is if my husband would have, not drank during that time, and not, if I'm staying home, stay home with me, because it feels like we're in this together, right? Like we are sacrificing, because it takes sacrifice to produce life. And I just feel like, I felt like I was the only one sacrificing at that time. So I feel like, just be open to that and understand that you're going to have to step up in that way to make her feel like she's not alone.
I like that. So you share some really good insights when it comes to making sure that you tune into yourself, right? And I know you said as far as emotional regulation, asking God, is this really the truth? Because there are going to be a lot of emotional changes that happen during pregnancy, right? And then I love how you said this connects to really just the concept, what is needed in the relationship, because there's going to be some changes that happen in relationship. And I know sometimes the men feel like, our life's still going. It feels as though as a woman, our life is on pause, right? And all of a sudden they're out there having fun. It's like, no, we actually need you to make the same sacrifice, right? And so pregnancy is definitely a transition from being a couple to being parents together, right? Which can create identity shifts, right? And so, as you mentioned, that some partners may feel left out as the focus shifts, just with that one partner focusing on the baby. And so that can happen in relationships as well. And changes in priorities and shifts in friendships and social connections can all happen at once. And so how do you think your relationship with your partner, family, or even your friends changed during pregnancy?
I'll say with my first pregnancy, because of my emotions, it kind of made me feel like I had to create this forced relationship with my son's father. Because you want that family. And I shouldn't have, in hindsight, but that is something that I feel like I did. I just forced something because I wanted that family for my son. With my husband, I feel like it brought us closer, for sure. It's like this magical special time. And it's like the baby's gonna be part you and part me, and it's just it's very spiritual. It's meant to be this like bonding moment. So that was really special. But I wasn't surprised, I was surprised by my oldest son, because I'd heard of parents preparing your children for another baby, and I did not do that because of his age. He was 14. I was like, he's fine.
Yeah,
but
he's a teenager.
He wasn't fine.
No?
Like he was jealous, and it was like, well, I'm gonna be your favorite, right? And I was like, I was not prepared for this, and I knew he wasn't gonna be happy, right? Because like, mom's pregnant. My whole pregnancy is like, Mom, why are you so fat? Eat a salad. But I think that that's something that, like, just because of their age, like, still consider preparing them. And I did not do that.
Okay, that's good advice. So preparing the other children for the pregnancy. I like that. So what do you say were some common relationship struggles during pregnancy, and how can couples or families navigate through them?
I think that sometimes issues come up in pregnancy that might not have been there if you were,
that's good,
just dating or newly married, because now you're looking at your partner from the lens of father, and it's like, you're playing video games till 1 a.m. might not have bothered me before, but now I see you as father, and that's starting to bother me, and just kind of be mindful of that your identity is going to kind of shift, and how you see them shifts a little bit.
I like that. That's really good. Very good insight. So you shared as far as, there's going to be identity shifts, and I love how you said that you saw him first, when you were dating, and then he became husband, and then now it's like, okay, now you're taking the role of the father. So I assume there were some expectations in the identity shift at that point too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have to talk about those things, right? Like you can't just assume that he's going to know. And I think like
That's good.
women,
That's good.
and I'm just going to say that, we tend to be
yeah,
like, well,
we
he
do.
should just know.
Magical thinking. Yeah,
And
we
no,
do that.
he's not going to know.
Right.
You have to be very clear about the things that you're expecting and the things that you need.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, right? Because that magical thinking can create more barriers as you're making this transition as parents, you know, in the relationship, or even if you're just been parents, but just adding on children. It is important that you are clear on what you need and actually mentioning that, right? And so another thing we're going to talk about, you know, I've noticed with pregnancy is sometimes that comes, or with parenting alone, it comes to the concept of being the picture perfect parent, right? And so many expecting parents may feel immense pressure to get it right before the baby arrives. Did you experience that pressure, and how do you think it impacted your mental health?
It didn't happen so much with my second because I was already a parent.
Okay.
And I just, you know, trusted God with that completely.
Okay.
But my first pregnancy, for sure, you know, just kind of holding yourself to this standard and trying to create this like false family that just was not a wise decision for me in hindsight. And understanding that in this chase of perfectionism, it's showing that you're not relying on God, first of all, because the only way we can get those fruits of the Spirit is by abiding in Him. It's not by our own works and our own strength. And I also realized that putting that level of perfectionism on myself, I actually did that to my son.
Wow.
And unknowingly, right? Like not intentionally, but I know like my husband, he said something really profound to me, and he was like, you know, Jonas is allowed to be upset sometimes. He's allowed to be moody. And I was just like, punish, like, let's, you know, super disciplined as a mom. And I've had to learn to like chill out. Like he's a human being, and he needs to allow to feel what he's feeling within reason, right?
Right, within reason. That's good. Yes. And so, you know, there's like, I love how you said the pressures that we place on ourselves, but those pressures can be transferred on to those in our lives, in our relationships. So that's really good. And so what advice would you give to someone who's maybe struggling with self-doubt or even fear of not being a good enough parent?
I would honestly say to stay off of social media.
Oh, that's good.
That's
that
like a big thing, is that's like this false reality that is just not true.
Yeah.
And even the most picturesque couple has issues behind closed doors.
That's good. Let's keep it real for them. Yes.
Absolutely. So that's an illusion. If we could be perfect, Christ wouldn't have to come.
That's true. That's it.
You know, and he has a way of using imperfect people to bring about his will, and he will give you the grace needed to parent.
I love that. That is very important. I love that, right? Because he will give us the grace to parent, right? There is, you know, I think they make books on parenting, but that doesn't apply, right? Because each child that you're going to get is going to have their own personality, their own destiny, their own purpose that you have to cultivate. And I love that we do need the help of the Lord to kind of guide those children in our parenting, right? So we can take that pressure off ourselves. And so, you know, if you are, I think another part of pregnancy that comes up a lot is the concept of postpartum, right? And so many mental health struggles don't end after birth. We have what's called postpartum depression and anxiety. So I do want to talk a little bit about that part because those are common, right? And so it is very important that if you are experiencing those symptoms that you communicate openly about your emotions, because it's needed to prevent long-term struggles. All right, so there are some signs that may be there that may indicate that you have postpartum depression or anxiety. And so it's important that you seek care if you do have any of those signs or symptoms of postpartum. All right, so I just want to kind of go over some signs in case, and this is persistent sadness or depressed mood, low interest in activities, difficulty sleeping or excessive changes in appetite, feelings of guilt, shame, inadequacy, difficulty bonding with your baby, or thoughts of self-harm, or sometimes harming the baby, which is rare, but it is a symptom. If at any point that you are experiencing this, it is very important that you seek help and support, guys. It is typical to go through these particular emotions. You are not alone. Even if that means seeking support from your partner or friend, that can relieve some of the emotional burdens. So, and prioritizing your rest and your nutrition, right? I can understand that having a new baby can make you feel as though you've lost pieces of yourself. And so it's very important that you take care and prioritize your mental health and your well-being, and even setting boundaries. Listen, if you're feeling overwhelmed, ask for help. Or even if your partner is still, asking them what it is that you need. It is very important. And so ultimately, when it comes to parenthood, parenthood begins long before birth. So is there anything that you think that are steps that expecting parents can take to maintain their mental wellness throughout pregnancy?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you have to deal with the spiritual. Okay. Yeah. So get that right.
Get that right.
So yes, find a church, get in the word, because if you make that a habit now, you'll continue it.
That's good.
I would also say have those date nights. And I know it might be hard in the beginning, when the baby's born, but prioritize your marriage, because it's so easy to get into that roommate phase where you're doing this and you're dividing and conquering, and you want to keep the intimacy. I would also say from a practical standpoint, because I am a financial coach, that you need to get your finances in order.
Get your finances in order, guys.
It's a huge stressor in your marriage if you're not getting that together.
Okay.
So have that life insurance in place. Make decisions on, daycare versus staying at home, maternity leave, paternity leave, all that stuff. Like make sure you have a very clear plan on how you're going to move forward after the baby's birth. I would also say, talk about your expectations very clearly. So, for example, if the woman's breastfeeding, talk about like, okay, I need you to do these things to support me while I'm doing that. Or who's getting up in the middle of the night?
That's good.
Who's going to be changing diapers? Like be very specific. Don't assume anything.
That's good. Don't assume anything, guys.
No.
Speak it, be clear, right? And so I love that. So pregnancy is a transformative experience, and it brings both joy and challenges. So acknowledging and addressing mental health struggles during this time is crucial for both the mother and the baby's well-being. So by normalizing these conversations, guys, we can create a culture where seeking support from mothers is not just accepted, but encouraged. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming on the show today. I know that it's allowed visitors to feel seen and heard, and I appreciate the insight and the wisdom. So guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube, Instagram, and social media and all. And don't forget to follow Rebecca as well on social media. Get those finances in order, okay? So we appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Remember, you're not crazy.